So when people are paying taxes, they think they're paying taxes to the United States Treasury, don't they?
Yes, they do.
It's been dissolved.
What year was that?
This was actually, then you must know history, from Woodrow Wilson, when he met with the popes, representatives of the popes of Rome and the bankers of England off Jekyll Island in Georgia to counter Noble Drew Ali, because he set up the Old Canaanite Temple in 1913. Then 1933, Roosevelt backed that up because they're slow walking to undermine the republic, which is our constitution contract that keeps them in check, right? And you can see all their offices they transferred under the IMF. That comes under the secret Treaty of Verona. You understand? And so the people are paying the popes of Rome. They don't know that the IRS belongs to the Jesuits. They're paying the IRS, which is a private, foreign, religious, for-profit corporate entity collecting taxes against their dumb Negro slaves who don't know that they're not Negroes, who swear they saved and swear they know history. They're going to tell you about Hikupta and don't even know what's going on in their face right now, and they're paying for their own enslavement.
Okay, let's step back for a moment. Let's see if we can apply this to what we're experiencing today.
Yes, exactly.
It is said that there are government officials that would like to tax the very rich.
Exactly.
This is the big argument that we get.
Yeah, it's for
making the rich over $250,000 pay their taxes.
Yeah, pay their share.
As it relates to what we just discussed, what should a brother or sister right out here on the street, if we could tell them something about between this and the realities of what we're listening to?
The real deal is that they're not supposed to be paying any. Number one, they're not corporations.
What didn't Governor Romney mean when he said that corporations are people too?
Because they are. That was created, that's the straw that was created with the 14th Amendment when they closed the Freedmen's Bureau. That's where they registered Negro, blacks, and colors as Christian property, moved exactly like real estate. That's the double standard of law that our people keep talking, but they can't name it. You know, we keep talking about the dog and challenge, they can't name it. And so when we come together, we're always spewing emotions, but we don't have any cure because we don't know what's in operation. This tells you what's in operation. And when you know what's in operation, then you can produce stuff like this, because this is how you counter it. You counter it with knowledge. This is the IRS coming after the brother, right? And this is not only 1 year, then he respond to them in propria persona, flying his colors.
Would you say that this...
That's just an example.
That with this entity
knowledge
saying that they're coming after him, the IRS,
yes.
Are we saying that it is the popes, the
yes,
Jesuits doing this?
It's the secret Treaty of Verona in operation.
So the Jesuits and the papacy is coming after folk with the IRS.
That's it.
If you get a letter that says that you haven't paid your taxes and we would like to call you in for a meeting,
exactly,
they are representatives of the papacy.
If I do apologize, just give me 1 minute. I just hope that I have
edit this out anyway.
I just hope I have this treaty up. See, because I'm traveling light, because I catch a lot of trains getting here. If I could just, you have the treaty rolling with you?
Actually, I don't, brother.
It's 7:46 now, brother. Your time is good?
Your time is good. Let's get this done.
Okay.
See,
because I got till about 8:15.
Yeah. I'm
about a half hour.
Yeah, because, you know.
I got about a half hour.
All the trouble I done ran on these trains trying to get here, I'm finishing this.
Where are you going now?
We'll go to the theater after we leave here.
How you going to get there?
We'll catch a train.
No, man, I'll drive you down because I'm going.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, because I'm parked right on the corner, so I'm there. So I'll just drive you over.
Oh, if you got to leave.
8:15.
Larry probably drop him off.
You think I'm staying here all night, man? I that couch rolled up?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, Doc.
Go ahead.
As an example, and this ain't the Treaty of Verona, but as an example, when you're dealing with problems of people, and you're in a leader position, you have a responsibility to deal with real world politics, not with emotions. This is congressional records that will give you what? The original 20 sections to the original article of Amendment 13. Now read here Article 12 as an example. That's congressional road.
The traffic the traffic, this is section 12.
Yes.
Basically, this is what we call Amendment 13.
Yes.
Section,
remember in the books now that they give our children, you only have 2 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
You only got 2 pieces.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact, take this with you, Doc.
Oh, please, yeah, man. Because,
Because, I mean, we're constitutionalists, so...
Yeah, well, I carry this with me.
Oh, yes.
I carry the Constitution with me. I carry 2 constitutions with me. And basically, the amendment is a very short piece.
Yes.
I mean, the 13th Amendment looked like that.
Yes.
Section 1, Section 2.
Yes. Now look.
But now, how many sections you say is here?
Here's the congressional records. Now this is back to the point, and this is what I'm saying to you: how our people are being educated, and they think they're being educated. That's social engineering, connotative linguistics. Now we're taking this. Now, as you can see, it's copied directly from the Congressional Globe. This is because people will say, "Oh man, y'all Moors making this stuff up." That's that Moorish thing, right? We deal with knowledge. Read that. Okay. Now read that yourself. No, read this.
Would it work?
Now read.
Here's Amendment 13. I see that there are 2 sections here. Section 1, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, comma, except as a punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, comma, shall exist within the United States, comma, or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Section 2, Congress shall have the power to enforce this article by appropriate legislation. It appears, brother, what we are talking about here is that those are 2 sections in here.
Yes.
However, in reality, to this particular amendment, I count 20.
Yes.
20 sections, of which only 2 are here.
Yes.
Which means there are 18 things folk don't know.
What would happen with the general masses, right, when our people are talking about the social problems in our community, and then we bring up the facts that scholars know, it would appear that we're contradicting our brothers in the little clubs, the little Negro groups that are marching and praying and all this other stuff, and they think that we're countering them when we're really trying to bring their degrees up because information is being held back from them. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Now read number 12.
Here's now I gave 2. Brother shared this. This is section 12. That is what? 10 below the 2 I gave you.
Yes.
Okay. The traffic in slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all the rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens.
Now, does any of our people need to expatriate from some citizenship that never existed?
You can't.
Exactly.
You can't leave what you never were.
Exactly. Can they be so-called U.S. citizens and then be taxable under the U.S. codes?
They can't be if they're not citizens.
Oh. So what happens if you bring this argument to our people and they're caught in the emotional belief systems that are taught on the street corners and through these little Negro clubs? They'll be debating with you all day long, wouldn't they?
They would believe that you were telling untruth.
Exactly. Or I have
an opinion. And they would accuse you of you made this up.
Exactly. Now, here's a demonstration. Now, and I'd rather you do it because we're both constitutional. Because I'm sharing with you, really. You know, because we didn't get a chance to talk. Because we're always moving.
Yes. This is the first time you and I ever really got to sit down.
Because we're always rolling. Now, here's the Internal Revenue Service coming at a brother, and you see the exhibit because they're taking him to court, right? Okay. Now, here's his response. And he's flying his colors, and then there's the Internal Revenue's response to his response. Now, have you read it so you know it's not coming from me. This is here, back to Brother Sonetta, because we always rap and we talk about these things. What is it with this sovereignty thing? Because when you're talking sovereignty, you're talking nationality. So let's talk about it in work, which means here's a demonstration of it in work. It ain't got to prove. I say, I'm from Missouri. All right, here's evidence. I gave you one piece of evidence. Now I'm going to give you another piece of evidence to back that evidence up. Because the issue is status all over the world, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Because the status determines a person's capacities and incapacities to exercise rights or claim of property in relation to third parties and the state. And if the identity is neutralized, then the status is dead. And when you're talking status, it equates in society with estate. One's capacity to make claims in relationship to property. Now, as a snippet, this is a standard letter from the IRS, and you can turn around for the camera to see it too.
You didn't file a Form 1040 tax return. And this is Exhibit IRS AT12.
And they're coming out, and this was not the only one because they're coming for a couple of years, but this is just one. Now, and this is his, and of course they follow up talking about what they're going to do.
And most folk get scared to death when they receive this.
And they're backing up talking about what they're going to do, you know, the old garnish, and they're going to determine, they're going to make up a thing for you and determine and charge you and lock your stuff up, you know, the usual thing.
Yes, yes.
This is his response. Now you read that. This is a response.
Okay, it says, to whom it may concern.
No, you got to come with the structure.
Okay.
Because in law, when you're talking sovereignty, you don't talk sovereignty, you're talking nationality, so you must fly your colors.
Flying your colors mean...
That means your national flag, your flag. In other words, because when you're not flying your colors, you're considered an abandoned ship. Because remember, when they're operating with the birth certificate and those other instruments, they're dealing with bottomry instruments, shipping, port, water, breakwater, you know, old birth, which they also talk about here, which you'll read, where they use the birth certificate, etc., in the congressional record. Now, so when you know, this is demonstrating when you know how you're supposed to structure things to counter their claim. Because they're claiming personam jurisdiction and subject matter jurisdiction, which is classification of law. So you must fly your colors. All right? Now, read and notice the structure of this.
Okay.
It's important because that deals with the activation of the sovereign right that you're talking about. It's all over the world.
The notice in law is sent via United States certified mail, number, then give number. From, and then list name, address, to whom it may concern, Department of Treasury. And then I asked her, Hosang L, going through that, received unsigned mailing dated May 21st, 2012, which is the first document.
Which is in reference to the suit that where
Right.
the IRS was coming out.
Okay. From a mysterious person in your agency, the mailing exhibit, gave number, was received on the 24th day, May 2012. Notice, and then notice date, tax period. This mailing has no signature of a natural living person, which indicates an inducement to fraud. Please send me a complete and clear documentation signed by a natural living person exposing, explaining, revealing, and disclosing the actual and or implied relationship or relevance of your form. As of now, it is unclear to me who you are, what nation's constitution authorized your activities, and how can I recoup or reconvey my already lost, misgiven, misappropriated, and generally wrongfully forwarded monies. Bang, bang, bang. Same heading on top.
Yes.
Take notice that this correspondence, your mailing, and future correspondence will be published on the Moorish Nation publication website. Please send all further correspondences in care of. Notice to the agent is notice to the agent is notice to the principal. Notice to the principal is notice to the agent. It's got a Moorish stamp. In good faith, trust, truth, and honor, I am. His signature, 5th day of May. CC's Honorable Eric Holder, Douglas Shulman, High Commissioner, United Nations, International Court of Justice, Vienna Convention, treaty violations, etc. Minister Taj Tarik Bey, Great Seal, National Association of Moorish Affairs. Enclosures. Copy of mailing from Internal Revenue Service, 4 pages. This is page 2 of 2.
This is their response to his response to their claim.
Okay, now this is dated July 24th, 2012. And this is
from the IRS.
we received, Collection Operation Manager, and dated Stephanie Perry. Dear taxpayer, we still haven't identified.
Yeah.
Dear taxpayer,
Yeah.
thank you for corresponding to our inquiry about the above tax return. Based on your information, we agree that you aren't legally required to file a tax return for the above tax periods. We are taking no further action at this time, but may need to contact you again if other tax issues arise. You don't need to reply to this letter. If you have any questions about this letter, you may write to us at the address shown above, or you may call us at 0055 individuals or 1-800-businesses. For non-case related questions, you can also check on our website at www.irs.gov. Sincerely yours, Stephanie Perry, Collection Operation Manager.
Now that's exercising it. That's exercising nationality. In other words, corrected status, but that's also understanding this. So you're not dealing with emotion. You don't get no lawyer. You don't get nobody march, and you don't protest. If you're of a nation, you use national and international law. That's what you're supposed to do. That's why Obama signed rights of indigenous people when he came back. That's what we're supposed to be exercising. That's it in operation. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand.
All right, I need you to
now
I understand now.
cross-examine the
so when we're enforcing Constitution, that's enforcing Constitution. You understand why? Because we got treaty, their obligation. Article 6 of the Constitution. All debts and contracts entered into before the adoption of this Constitution shall be binding, not for, against the United States, under this Constitution as under the Confederation. And all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority thereof, what shall be the supreme law of the land. And if you don't have a nationality, you ain't enforcing no treaty. See how simple that is? And this is in an operation, which means that ain't discussion opinion. That's demonstrating it. This is what we're trying to get our people to understand, so they don't keep looking at this emotionally or like it's threatening their club or it's different beliefs. It's not. This is world politics. And until our people learn the principles of civilization, which our forefathers founded, not them Europeans, then we're subject to the BS that we keep complaining about. But if we're going to start dealing with facts, then we can start getting some remedies. It's that simple. And it's still they're going to be resisting. But it doesn't mean that you can't win, does it?
That's right.
You see his thumbprint and the stamp. Highest seal. Do you understand? And so when people keep saying, you know, and this is again where a lot of people, even Moors, misrepresent this information because they be trying to make people followers in clubs. It ain't a club, it's your birthright. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And this doesn't matter what club you belong to. We're all one. And this is why you see even the brothers on the west side, and etc., with all the so-called Indian tribes, everything. That's why you see them dissolving all the treaties with these frauds. And half of them, Nonakok and all of them, claim their bloodline, Moorish nationality, because that's where the law stands. In other words, our clubs, our little tribes, yes, but that's where we got divided with each other. That's why there's European rulers in our own land. You know what I'm saying? Because we got caught up in these little tribalisms. And thinking that we're going to be supreme. You can't. The sovereignty is not in the tribe. The sovereignty is in the nation, the mother nation. That is the collective nation. You know, and this is where we keep getting tricked. You know, and a lot of people that know these international law principles won't teach it because their little clubs will fall apart. Then they can't pilfer off their little follower guys. This is what Malcolm found out, because this thing is bigger than you think. That's why when we came down to that ballroom, he already knew what was up. Because there's nowhere to go. This is worldwide. Do you understand? Why do you think they closed the books? They killed King. He's 33-degree Mason. He knows. And what did Malcolm found out? Just like many others, you know, they already had schedules for him, for Martin and other people like him, you know, to interject into the different so-called black groups and take credit for stuff that they're doing, just like people take the credit for the March to Washington. That's the Panthers.
So when you say King was a 33-degree Mason, was he a Mason of the Negroes, or was he like combined?
No. See, they have it separate.
Okay.
See, because there's still the black codes going on here, and they get to like 33 degrees, but there's 96. If you understand, there's still separation because they're still operating under the secret treaty of Verona. Do you understand what I'm saying? And we need to understand that. Which means our people are, even when they mean some good, they're compromised. And it's not a criticism. It's just accept where you are on the board. Let's work with our strengths. But know where you are. Know what you're playing. Know when you can't dribble. But you're still playing ball, so you got to go to your strengths. Sound good, brother?
Peace.
Peace.
I was swatting at a fly, Negro fly. What's a Negro and how did that term get associated with our people?
European essentially, as a matter of fact, one of the ways he talks about that is that movie he made with Eddie Murphy, Trading Places. They're really telling you the truth. Another way they tell you is in The Matrix with the red pill, blue pill.
Right.
Actually, no.
You know, it's like here in America, brother. You have all the mounds. You have all the pyramids in America. Okay? That's like Bill Clinton and George Bush claiming their ancestors built that. It's like Israelis claiming that their ancestors built the pyramids. They were not in the area at this time to have even thought to build these.
Well, as a comical aside, I'd like to know.
Now you see why we call them.
No,
Professor
as a
Disagreeable.
It's wonderful, man.
As a comical
Because if I'm
aside,
on my game, I got to be able to respond. Otherwise, I need to shut
as
up.
a comical
That's right.
aside, I want to point out that the Israelis do claim that they built the pyramids. They just claim that they built them under the lash of a slave master, right?
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
they do claim.
No,
that
that's
they
what I'm
built the
saying.
pyramids.
Opportunity.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying.
Opportunity.
But we know by history that these individuals that are going to come out of the city of Ur, which today is called Odessa, we know they don't even, by their own account, they claim to have left Ur, which is in Iraq.
Yes.
They claim to have left 2000 BC. The pyramids were already up and running 880 years, if not thousands beyond that.
Before
that. So they could not even have touched the pyramids. The pyramids were probably ancient by the so-called people that are Haibri. We use the word Ibri, Haibri.
Yes.
Not to
Now look at
mention the
this.
fact
Look
that
at this opportunity. Look at this opportunity, and this just shows you how the connotative linguistics work. So we're talking ancient history, and then we're saying how they said the slaves wasn't no slaves. That's a totally modern connotative thing. Until the Russians went down and took over the Slovakian nations, that's where the slave comes from, because it's actually a nationality. Connotatively, when it's applied to a condition, that's connotative.
Yes.
When denotatively, it's improperly used.
Yes.
And this is again, so when we're doing research in history, back to the point, and it's back to what you're saying, when we really do the research, Greece didn't exist. When you don't, but it doesn't mean that the dynamics that we're talking about didn't take place.
That's right.
And Rome is a structured illusion.
Yes.
Again.
Yes.
And so when we're talking about the symbol of the Etruscan symbol with the dog, right? The wolf, the Etruscan wolf.
Yes.
And then you got Romulus and Remus under it. Then Romulus killed Remus, etc. And then it's Rome. It's really talking about the hybrids.
Yes.
Really, in truth. Yes. And so the deal is, what we recognize when you start doing really honest research, and this is back to even as the brother was breaking it into the history of the brothers in the South and the North. One of the reasons why we fell, truthfully, is because we started violating our own laws, enslaving our own people. Now that's the real deal. It's not that it's separate people, the Africans over here and then the Africans over. No, we were enslaving our own people and violated our own laws. That's one of the spiritual reasons why we fell.
That's right.
And this is also one of the and not only that, we had Muslim slaves, Christian slaves, etc. And all these Europeans did was take over some of these Moorish Bonnevilles, if you understand what I'm saying to you. And this is really, and then we call them plantations. And right as they teach the history now, they keep talking about, or like even if you look at the movie, right, The Birth of a Nation. The first showing was under Woodrow Wilson, right, in the Casablanca, in the White House, right. And here you go, right. They'll show you, right, they'll show you Moors as blacks, senators and congressmen eating watermelons and chickens, and then what do they do? Step down or die. And so what happens, our people are so emotionally talking about racism, because that's the password, that they're not paying attention to the fact that those are Moors that are congressmen and senators. So thus they don't know their own history here, and that's why they teach that George Washington was the 9th president, and the record shows was the first, and the record shows he was the 9th. Is to disconnect you. But this is back to and so in the issue, back as we bringing this thing together, what we're looking to do, how can we bring, Doctor, Hiawatha. How can we bring remedy now? We know that the history's been convoluted. We can discuss that forever. Let's talk cures.
Yes.
So even when, as you read the article, the real article Amendment 13, you know how they're teaching it to our people, and you know what the congressional record says. That's a contradiction, right? Now, we're in the Maghrib. Now, so they're talking, because when you're talking nationality or sovereignty or rights in society, you're talking nationality. And so when you're talking citizenship, you're talking nationality. So let's go again to congressional records. Let's go to their own records, right? So let's go to their own records, and we're talking about expatriation, because a lot of people, Europeans and Asiatics, is trying to sell people expatriation packages for $500 and all that stuff, citizenship stuff. So let's show how much of a fraud it is. Let's go to the record. Let's get off the emotion. Let's first deal with the facts, then go take a position. Whatever position we take, fine. But first deal with the foundation. And will you share with us, Doctor?
You know, before I do this, because I'm going to bring my my contribution to just to a pause here, because there are things. The remedy, I believe, brother and sister.
Yes.
You know, no matter how we look at this, they have never had the power to be able to come in and take us over. They've always taken advantage of us fighting amongst ourselves.
Exactly.
Wherever I go into our history, I see it.
Exactly.
And you can go back to most ancient times, and you can go to the day before yesterday.
Exactly. Divide and conquer.
That's the bottom line. Whether it be, and I call it the Willie Lynch syndrome.
Yes.
Because I don't even care if he existed.
Yes.
The syndrome exists.
It exists, and it's in operation.
And it's in good operation.
In operation.
My key is this. I think that one of the first solutions that we can do is to have a dynamic conversation like this, but still have unconditional love for each other no matter what comes out of this.
Word is God.
I believe that as Brother Taj Bey talks about all these different groups that we have broken ourselves up into, that I think one of the very first things that we have to do, as Malcolm told us, they don't attack you because you're Republican. They don't attack you because you're Democrat or Christian or whatever. They come to you because you are a particular entity. He used the word black.
Yes.
Now, I believe that one of the most important things that we have to do is take emotion and put it in a trunk for a while.
Yes.
And understand that our greatest enemy is not the white man, it is ignorance.
You all right?
And once we fight this ignorance within ourselves and be able to identify and see it. And I think that my contribution is to allow our children to be critical thinkers.
Yes.
That's the key. Etymology. That's why when you and I were talking, I was getting on that language arts piece, because when you can understand language, and you can understand how people are coming at you, you can decipher critically what it is that they're actually saying and doing.
Yes.
And as I read these books about African slaves were brought to America, etymologically speaking, that's absolutely unacceptable. That's psychological. That has nothing to do with reality. African slaves, because our children say, psychologically now, when you look at connotative and denotative, this is why when you and I were talking, I was elaborating on this. When you're talking about connotative and denotative, what you're really saying is that in our children's mind, they're saying, well, they were slaves in Africa, so why wouldn't it would make sense that they would be Africans in America?
Yes.
Not only that, but they talk about, well, Africans had slaves. No, Africans did not have slaves.
Exactly.
Because in America, it became a law. It became an institution. There's a book by Kenneth Stamp that's called That Peculiar Institution, which dehumanized the person.
Exactly.
Within an African context, you might have been in servitude to somebody, whether you were a prisoner of war or whether you did not have and somebody took care of you. But you were always a human being. You were always viewed upon as a human and sovereign, if you want to use that word. And you were always seen as an entity, and you owned yourself.
Yes.
But when they made a law that made you equal to the cattle, to the cows, and then you have the Dred Scott decision that says that there is no law that a white man ever has to obey as it relates to a black person, they have removed you from the scope of humanity.
Exactly.
And under those conditions, you can be treated anyway. You can be murdered, you can be raped, you can be taken advantage of, but why not? Even people that come from other places can come here. And they would have
itself.
as much right because they have a sense of personhood. And they could even be African people.
Exactly.
That could come and say, well, I'm Ghanaian, I'm Nigerian, I'm Twi, you know, I'm Yoruba.
See how status keep coming into play?
Exactly. I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Dominican, but what do we say here?
Crayons.
You see, and this is what we have to start to look at, and if we can just touch the spirits of our children, because they understand this. Because I teach Crayola crayons to children in kindergarten. They understand colors, and they also understand that if you start with red and go to orange and go to yellow and you go to green and you go to blue and to indigo and then to finally purple, if you put a line across each color as it goes, that end line is black. All colors come out of the black.
It absorbs all of them.
When you talked about cosmogony, cosmology, we're talking about celestial concepts. Yes. We just happen to be on Earth and we're limited to speak Earth concepts. But we are God having a human experience. Yes. And how we treat each other is how we treat God. No matter how much we put in the poor box, no matter if we give 10%. And what we have to start to do is get very real with our conversation. Put the emotion aside. Because we can spend our whole life talking about who threw us in the pit. But every moment we talk about that, we're not talking about how to get out the pit.
Exactly.
We got to get out this pit.
Exactly.
We got to take the emotion and put it away for a while. No matter how much we may hurt about being in the pit, we got to take that feeling, put it to the side, and put all that energy into getting out of the pit.
Start dealing with some remedy.
Know thyself. Understand the realities, but then understand the balance and strategy that you're dealing with out here. Because we're dealing with something out there that's real.
Yes.
We know the test does not measure someone's intelligence. But no matter what, our children are going to be judged and moved forward
by them.
By that standard that we call the standardized test. You know, brother, your children come home with oodles and boodles of homework that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with their being able to intellectually become conscious of how they can become productive, divine human beings to give something as citizens to the world in which we're living in. But that's not the point. That's a billion-dollar business because people make up those homework assignments and they get paid for it. Yes. And we have to understand within the texture and within the temper and tone of this illusion, we also have to be bi-cosmic. We have to understand where we come from, but we also have to understand what we're experiencing.
And where we are.
And what we and Dr. Clark used to say it. Know who you are in this world, know where you are in this world, know how in the world did you get there, understand why you are in the world, understand what you must do in the world, and how in the world are you going to do it. If we can answer those questions, my brother, we can make this happen. Hotel.
Beautiful.
What we need is a conspiracy.
Okay, you have to explain that.
What? Oh no. That's what we need. We need a conspiracy. We need a conspiracy that culminates on the day when everybody thinks the same way. When everybody sees the same thing. Because everybody's looking at the same thing the same way. That comes from conspiracy. That's not something it's not an epiphany.
Not necessarily
like the Christians have when you fly up into the sky on that day. We need that day, but we don't need to fly. We need to open our eyes. Right? I understand the argument that the Moorish brothers make, right? I don't make that argument because I don't think people are ready for that argument, right? Which is why I think Moorish brothers get all the pushback that they get. The nationalistic argument, right? Brothers who know me know that I attack at ground level. I attack the words that I hear coming out of these young people's mouths every day. And I attack older brothers for leading them in that direction, right? Because if I have a rope around your neck, I don't care how much you're telling me. I don't care how much you're telling me that you want to go this way. I'm pulling you in the direction I want you to go in. Don't move.
Until up to the late 1800s, African and Moor is used synonymously all over the world.
Don't move.
And it's not till we start operating here that we got caught up in this crap, denying our own birthright, which is why we keep getting screwed.
I don't have a problem with...
No, don't.
No, wait.
listen.
Time out. Hear the statement.
First of all, I'm qualifying myself because this is the deal. I'm not talking opinion. I'm talking record. Deal with the record.
Got you.
Deal with the facts.
Got you. I don't have a problem
with dealing with facts.
I don't have a problem with you stating that Moor and African were interchangeable terms, right? But interchangeable terms within the framework of the ignorant Europeans who were using them doesn't say much, right? The people themselves, right? When you look at people like Awe people,
Awe being who, brother?
From the region that's called Ghana now, okay, right? Ashanti, they Akan people, okay. Ashanti, Fanti, like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you look at these people, they have their own history, their own culture, their own oral traditions, and they don't call themselves Moors, right?
Yes.
When you look at their
yeah, the tribal areas. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, tribal areas from the outside.
No,
see, that's
I'm
an
not
external
dismissing
view.
that. I'm not dismissing. It's not view.
I got you.
What I'm saying is, I'm not dismissing any of that. What I'm demonstrating, what I'm saying, is that one of the keys to our demise as a people is that we keep falling into this tribal area thing as the supreme nation principle, when we're actually Canaanite, Moabite blood. That's who we are. That's the cover that covers all of us. Do you understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, when you come down to the nation states, most of your nation states that people identify today are totally contemporary and go back 100 years. Half of them didn't exist, go 150, and most of them didn't exist. You're dealing with the Moorish or the Ottoman Empire, and then claims made by Rome. That's it. If you go into the Berlin Conference, 1884, 1885, you're dealing with the European nations colonizing Morocco, which is the Moorish Empire in general. And these were broken up into nation states. But when you're talking at, you're not looking at it just from the modern term as you're looking at Morocco. You're looking at Moabite, Canaanite blood, Canaanite peoples, Asiatic Canaanite peoples. So the Asiatics and Africans are synonymous.
And you know what's interesting about what you're saying, brother, is that the exact opposite was done with Ethiopia.
Yes.
Because Ethiopia was a term used to describe all peoples of dark complexion, if we want to call it that. But now it's a geographic location.
Yes. And then when you go into the ancient Super Devere, or the dividing of the land, Ethiopia, the area that, or some of the family we call Ethiopia is actually Abyssinia.
Abyssinia.
And then Ethiopia was the term used for the dividing up of the land. And so it's generally applied to all of the people, exactly. But it really means something divided. It's actually an ancient Super Devere, yes. Or the annexing of the land between Ham and Cush.
And you know, when we look at the way we could just, for those, because you notice that I'm always trying to be specific. Because I'm being specific because I want our community, who are not familiar with these terms. That's why I kept asking you to explain things, because I work with children, and I know that with our children you have to be very specific, and you can't assume that they know things. When we're talking about what has happened to us as a people, if we take where we're living right here, I'm not going to give the name or the number of where Sonetta, where we're taping this, but let's take this building. We have, this building is divided up into apartments.
Yes.
If every apartment was like a tribe, but all the apartments are in one building, we're one people. Geographic location, whether it be a river to a mountain range or whatever it was, natural boundaries that created people living in specific geographic locations, did not change the nature of the connection these people had with each other.
Bloodline, and we keep dividing.
That's the key.
This is why we keep getting beat. Because we keep dividing ourselves into club tribes, and there's nothing wrong with that. No different than, all right, so
it's like an apartment. It would, this would be quite a building if there were no walls and everybody lived in just
look what happens. Say Africa as an example. 54 nations, right?
And
nation states.
More now because Sudan has just been divided.
Nation states, right? Now, generally, you have Muslim, Yahudi. That's usually related to our background from a spiritual perspective, right? Now, the deal of it is, all of that can be traced back to Kabbalistic principles, even though they've been making into sects, if you get the point. And it still can be traced into Asia Major, up in Hindustan or ancient Peru, that we call India now, even with the Mauryan dynasty, Nanda dynasty, the Gupta dynasty, which can be traced to Zoroastrianism, Menkster's law, and you can relate all of this stuff. And what happened is we divided against each other as if we had no relationship. But that has more to do with the way the European has been teaching culture, even about ourselves. The same thing with us here. Now, my grandmom, them Blackfoot, my father, no, my mother, Anayanwea, or Cherokee. Anayanwea. So we can say Cherokee, but the European made that. We're Anayanwea. You know, but when you deal with the tribes, we're ancient Canaanite Moabite people on the west. And it's not new stuff. But yet, if you say that and then don't say the tribe, people think you're talking about different people or that you're denying. But that's why we got beat up. Because we keep putting the tribal issue before the national issue. And the European pumps that because he already know that we were going to be divided, and he beats us up.
And they know how to be divided but come together when it's time to defeat. Now, let me just say this. And then at least my contribution is here. Here's some books to read if you want to take this further. When We Ruled, by a brother by the name of Robin Walker, R-O-B-I-N Walker. Sheik Diop's fantastic book, The Cultural Unity of Black Africa. And then, from a feminine perspective, to get a sister's perspective, read Wonderful Ethiopians and Their Kushite Empires by Drusilla Dungy Houston. And read those books from the perspective of the conversation that we had today. And just to realize how we are all one people. And that it's important that we must stop fighting amongst ourselves.
And stop playing tribe club.
That's it. And you know, if you want to be in a group, you can be in, but understand that the group is only a subset of the larger piece, and that the interest might be low, just like when you look at the way in which the temples were broken up in Kemet. You had 42 nomes, 42 cities, and each city had a patron. Every patron played a particular part in the overall spiritual philosophy of the entire nation.
That's where Congress principle comes in. The House. The House is the zodiac. That's where you get the House, where you got the Senate, and it's coming directly from, honestly, the law of the great peace, which ruled the planet, not just here. And this is where people, when they get into this, you know, this concept that when they keep thinking that's separate, the same principles apply. The other trick is when we go into the history and we go into our history, African, Kemetic history, and you'll see they keep going in with that patriarchal mentality. They were matriarchal systems. And in the linguistics, even when they're doing transliterations, you cannot go into true Asiatic African culture and history without the balance of the feminine masculine principle. And what they did when they transliterate both this history and the culture, they removed the feminine principle, and you keep getting it even in the linguistics from the masculine principle. And this is why even when people are doing so-called transliterations of the culture, that is corrupted. And then because dirt on our own side, we start looking at history, trying to dismiss the dirty part like that didn't have nothing to do with us, and just take the good part, blah, blah, blah. You can go to any school, you want to teach your children, go to the dictionary, go show them a dictionary, go look at black. First thing you're going to do is first put it in its proper matrix. Right after it'll have its proper matrix, because it's got 8 parts of speech, got adjective, which means it's not a noun, which means it can't be person, place, or thing. Then you go into its etymon, and then it'll have ME, which means Middle English, which means it don't go past the 1400s. Then it'll go, derive from OLHG, Old High German, and in its original form means pale, which means these people ain't black, and they're looking at it as a code system. Then it'll go to the etymology of it, go right down, then it'll say right beneath it, black or more, then it'll take the brand off, and then it'll have small case with the black, then it'll have more, and says any Asiatic, African, Negro, black, etc., more.
And now the brother mentioned about the feminine principle, let me just add the fact of another book to read. Over to Shaka wrote a book, Returning to the Mother Principle. And as brother said, although the male sat on the throne, it was the feminine principle that sat the male on the throne. Because who better to put the Pharaoh or the Nesubiti on the throne but the hand that rocked the cradle? Okay.
And then, what beehive got a king throne?
When you look at the big T.
you know,
symbol. Yeah, but that's because when you came over here, brother, you brought that energy, man. Like, you see how lively things done when you sat over here?
He was paying more attention to me when I was over here.
Go back over there.
Yeah, because now it's time.
Go ahead, Professor. But, now, and so the principle is, and so
good to see you, Professor Larry.
And this is what's most important.
Walk slow, drink
not just
water.
you know, for the loss of time, you know, because the time factor, and the real deal. Even as Brother Sonetta, you know, called us, because the major thing that we all look for, and when you look at the work that Sonetta's been doing for years, he takes a neutral position because he's being absolutely objective.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? He's taking a position of a reporter. He's a historian. He's a recorder. He's what you call a manuensis master, which means you can't, and it doesn't mean whether you agree or whether you disagree. It's because you must leave the venue open, because we're dealing with aggregate. We're dealing with contaminated aggregate, which we all must admit to. Do you understand what I'm saying? And you must filter it out. So therefore, you must take an objective position, even if you have your own other biases. If you, and this is back even to where the Professor Larry's coming from, which is proper. You know, challenge with questions, because you have to, because that makes you step up your game.
Right.
But the reason, and so the point on why we even doing this, and this is back to some of the things that we're talking about, because he wasn't there when we did the other classes, you know, when we was at the theater and stuff like that. The major issue, or why we decided to do this, as you all saw when we had all these people from these different groups, etc., different positions. Who's going to let's present some remedy. Yeah. We know the history. We can debate history. But for the most part, none of us were witnesses. So the witness we have is the record.
Exactly.
Right? And you know that the Christians spent years burning books, and the books that really have some substance or quality, usually they make it cost crazy. Just like if you go get a Corpus Juris Secundum, $10,000. If you understand what I'm saying. Even when you was dealing with ancient and modern Britons, that Scottish historians just giving history of the Moors in Europe, right? Book 17 note book. Yeah. Then when the people started catching on to it, what was going up to 800 notes and 1,000 notes, little paperback, because they're trying to block stuff. You know, as soon as we start teaching people the balance of jurisprudence, etc., then you know you could get a used dictionary for 20 notes. Then they what? 100 notes, 400, 550, 1,000. And stuff like that, you know, and even books etymology on the language, so that people can start breaking down things and put them in their proper perspective. Mm-hmm. And so the average brother walk out, he can't even go get these books without 2,000 or 3,000 notes in his pocket, and he's going to get not necessarily the best editions, if you get the whole point. Exactly. However, if you know how to search, you can, you know, it works out once you get in the circle. Mm-hmm. But the point that I want to bring up, rather than having us debate what our opinion is on certain history, what remedy do we have to present? What remedies? Meaning, what focus? Meaning that we all know we got problems. We all know these Europeans been abusing us. What remedies do we have to present, so that when people looking at these tapes, you know, they can say, "Oh man, that's deep. Oh, that's cool, man." You know,
right? I got you.
What remedies do you have? The point of it is like when I showed you that document, like with IRS, that's remedy. Mm-hmm. This is remedy. What remedies, and what happens is when you see us get together from the different groups, they're debating their groups, their clubs, who was really this people, who was really, that's all cool. Ain't got remedy the daggone first. This is why it's important for people to study. Right. See, because in other words, like if I present to you facts, right? Mm-hmm. Say, for instance, the history of the Moorish movement, what Noble Drawley did, what Marcus Garvey did, what the relationship was, going to the congressional record, going to COINTELPRO records, going to FBI records where you can decipher this stuff, go to Noble Drawley's statements, go to the structure of the temple, go to the microfilm, because I went to the microfilm in Michigan, Cook County, went to the microfilm and looked up old newspapers on microfilms. That's how I do research. I don't go by emotions. I do research. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And so logically, I'll take certain opinions, but my opinions, most of my opinions, I have biases like everyone else. But they'll be based in the facts as opposed to opinion. But you'll find that a lot of so-called, you know, like say for instance, even when you're talking about Moors, right? most of our people, when they mention the Moors, they're talking from a third-party perspective, when it's actually your bloodline. Has nothing to do with a club, a belief system, just the fact that Noble Drew Ali set it up, meaning that if you go into the status issues in this country, or in the Western Hemisphere when you're dealing with the Dred Scott case, or even if you go after that, you go to the congressional records. We're talking about the Congress of the United States. The congressional records dealing with these people that they held to servitude. They're dealing with the Sundry Free Moors Act in 1790, which determined the status of these people for them to have legal standing in law, not just here, but around the world. And so if you read that, meaning that if you read it and I'm reading it, then our conversation makes sense. If you're trying to tell me about that, then I take the position that because you're in the temple, you're trying to convert me to something, right, which is the wrong concept. We're talking bloodline. Now, there may be some club issues that's going on in the temple that may be disputes.
What is the difference between the temple Moors and the Moors that's out here?
What you find is most of the Moors that are out here, more of them are dealing with research.
Which one? The ones that's out here?
Many of them.
Okay. Right.
Many of the Moors in the temple, because the temples were infiltrated. Mm-hmm. When you're dealing with COINTELPRO operations under Calvin Coolidge, and then particularly under J. Edgar Hoover's, the national side of the movement was deliberately oppressed or suppressed within the Moorish temples. And then a lot of infiltrators came in with the determination to convert it into a belief system.
I'm glad you said that. I wanted to give you that. I know you got a copy of that already. That's a magazine that came out, and they definitely got your name in there. If you turn to the next page. That was in a book that somebody brought me, a magazine that hit the streets. Here with your name right over here somewhere. Right around here. You'll see Taj Tarik Bey. They got y'all under surveillance.
Oh, sure.
That's in there.
Sure. The Europeans called me, the so-called Jews, called me the Fourth World War. So it's not new. See, because what it does...
So you can have that. Take that back with you.
Yeah.
They got you in there. They got a few people in there that they...
So what it does... See, because what it does, it not only exposes the European, it exposes the fraud on our side. Because we keep having this tendency to come at this thing like all self-righteous. Like I'm right and everybody else is wrong because I'm in this club. Once you understand this, Noble Drew Ali brought or set up a political foundation, a forum for our people to exercise what is recognized by the international community of sovereign right by virtue of you, me, acknowledging our bloodline and the obligations that these Europeans have as an occupying government on people who don't know they're indigenous, who keep thinking only from a slave mentality because that's where they're taught by so-called black leaders and the Europeans. They don't even know that they're the sovereign nobles of the land. They don't even know that while we're talking, debating all these Negro groups, Europeans are in lodges with your fezzes on, with your noble titles, Il and Bey on it, and running you with your own stuff. And we sitting around debating our belief systems. We keep talking about our own bloodline, our inheritance from a third-party perspective, which in law makes us incompetent. We keep thinking that this Moorish information is some club started by Noble Drew Ali. No, that's a forum to dispense information that the world is presenting to you. This is why in the Universal Proclamation of Human Rights, 1948, in the Rights of a Child, 1959, under treaty law enforcement under the Clinton administration, and Obama signed the rights of indigenous people. In each one of those dictums, it declares for these people to declare their nationality. Because without that, all these other things that these people's seeking cannot be remedied. Because any reparation is a repair in law from one specified and identified nation or nations to another specific and identified nation. That's the only way reparation can take place. It takes place between nations. It doesn't take place between crayon people. Now, the very fact that our people will deny that they're Moors and then turn around and say that they're black is the supreme indicative or indication that they not only don't know language. Do you understand what I'm saying? That they're taking a position that actually neutralizes them in society, but because they're disagreeable about certain parts of the history, they're dismissing their bloodline. That's still your bloodline, whether you like it or not. You understand? And our people are looking at it from a club perspective, which takes them out of inherited capacity. Now, this is why, rather than debate with people, we command that they bring the law book, and then they bring the congressional record, then they bring then they bring etymological dictionaries, and then read, then make your debate. Then get away from saying whether it's my opinion, your opinion.
Right.
Now let's look at what the world is talking about, not just these Europeans here. We're talking about people from Africa, people from India, Europe, Asia too. All of them are commanding of you the same thing. And we're here squabbling with each other, talking about our clubs. Got no daggone remedy. I'm going to tell you about God, Jesus, Allah, Muhammad, and everything. Can't cure a daggone thing. We keep funding a bunch of Negro organizations that just keep us spinning wheels year after year after year, cost more, and Europeans still screwing us. They don't even know how to address a court, don't even know how to address treaty law, don't know how to address constitution law, don't even know how to address the IRS that keep coming and destroying the community, but they know connect. We're full of crap.
Do you consider yourself a lawyer?
No.
Why not? Why not take that profession to help our people?
No.
Because a lot of the Moors know they law.
See, but that's a requirement. Let me explain to you. This is the point. Law and history goes together. The only thing where is people associate that with Moors is because the Moors taught jurisprudence. It's the Moors that brought the European out of darkness, and he's ruling us with our own stuff right here. And our people keep saying that's his stuff. That's your stuff. Our concepts are wrong. And it's sort of like, here we're the direct descendants of the founders of civilization, and when the principles of civilization are presented, we start debating tribalism. Meanwhile, our own laws being used against us, and this European got the Sphinx head with the Moorish sword above it, means the subjugation of the Moabite woman. They may be claiming to be Christian, Jew, or whatever they may be claiming, and they're ruling you with your own stuff, and we get in debates, trying to see who got the biggest penis, or who got the most knowledge, rather than bringing remedies. They don't have remedies. For instance, like, when they go in courtroom, they keep saying white man's law. Yes, white man's law. They just don't know that they're white men. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And as soon as they say they're black man, or they agree to be that straw that man have on a paper, it creates the black code's jurisdiction under the 14th Amendment.
So what you're saying right here, you don't consider yourself a white man. But if you go in under under the law, you walk in there as a white man.
You daggone right. And so does other Africans. When other people, see, Africans, even brothers from the other side, know how sensitive we are. Also, they know how hypocritical we are. They also know that we sell our babies out to keep this man in power and then come back, start some nigger organization and march and pray. This is why they'll come in our community, make sure they stop past the hardware store and get a thick piece of plexiglass and come make a living off us just like everybody else and try their best to move out of the community. You understand? And not because they don't respect us as brothers and sisters. They know that we are operating in dishonor, and we're too daggone arrogant to recognize it.
Have you ever been in front of the judge?
Sure.
How he look at you when you start speaking?
Usually they close the court down.
Coming at him.
Usually they'll shut the court down.
Wow.
And usually deal with us last.
Because they don't want nobody to catch on
Because
to
you're
this.
freeing their slaves.
Right. There you go.
If you want, see, because keep this in mind, Sonetta, when you go into any court, don't just look at it here. It's in the world. The first issue is status. The second issue is jurisdiction / venue. Then adjudication. This is all over the world. But the Negro leader guys won't teach people these things because they want to always raise some funds, play the old victim game, and then pilfer the finance like they're doing something for these people, then take them in their courts under the black status, and immediately the black codes are what's being used in the court, or the Negro Act, or the Buck Act. And until that person changes the jurisdiction by declaring his birthright or his nationality, then the venue changes. Now they got to deal with constitutional law and treaty law. That's the distinction between Moors. Now, when you go into I gave him books, so I'm gonna see if I have anything left to demonstrate. As an example, international law. Say, I don't think I have it in here. All right, say the House of Representatives. This is 1790, right? And I'm gonna show you a issue in law. Now, how you want to take it, how I want to take it, what people's opinions are, is irrelevant.
Right.
Because most of our opinions is because, you know, we didn't feed the dog. Or a woman didn't act like this morning, so we taking that on the world. Because it's in dealing with national and international laws, not dealing with opinion. You understand? So status is the issue. That's the foundation. Which means it doesn't matter whether he believes in some religion or not. It's irrelevant. Although we had our own religion. Do you understand?
Right.
Now, and you know, Sinetta, because you see the dynamics. That when people are talking about the Moors, they keep talking from a club perspective or a belief perspective. When the real issue that Noble Drawley brought is the political forum for the return of the estate, the birthright. Then you understand that argument, because this reveals a lot of it. You understand?
Right.
Go ahead.
I just want to refer back to an earlier statement of mine concerning Al-Andalus and the trafficking of quote-unquote, I'm not calling these people this. This is what these people are called, right? Sub-Saharan Africans.
Yes.
Into Al-Andalus by Moors.
Yes.
I'm making a argument, and you seem to be substantiating my argument, although I know you don't mean to do that.
Yeah,
you are delineating and distinguishing between the status of those who realize that they are Moors and those who do not. Those who accept the status of Negro, colored, black, what have you, African American.
Which is artificial.
I'm not making that point right now. We can make that point, but I'm not making that point right now. The point I'm making is that you are substantiating that there was a differentiation between people who looked exactly alike, but those who knew who they were and those who did not.
Exactly.
Right?
That's what's before the
my
court.
point, the earlier point was that in Al-Andalus, no, it's necessary to do this.
Okay,
in Al-Andalus, right, that the Spanish-speaking people made that same distinction between those who were Muslims, Moors, and those who were not.
Morenos and Moranos.
Morenos and Negros.
Morenos, Moranos is generally referring to the Asiatic Africans who were Muslim that was converted to Christianity, and the others, Moranos, were Ibri, or what you call Hebrew, or Jews that was converted to Christianity, yet they were both Asiatic African people, means the same people. And when you're dealing with the Moors and in their ventures into Europe, etc., they were both Muslims and Jews. They weren't, the concept is that they were just Muslims. This was usually perpetrated in history. They were Muslims and Ibri, or what you call Jews. And as a matter of fact, when you deal with the philosophy and the culture, Muslim children and Jews lived together. And even the original Christos, or what you deal with the so-called Christians that were Orthodox, that dealt with the principles of Hero, or what you call Hindustan. Because all of the philosophies are rooted in one principle, Kabbalistic principle. What you see when the secularisms take place, you'll see them, even whether Islam, Christianity, Jew, have all these divisions, when all of those philosophies can be traced to a common origin. And all scholars know this. But what I'm projecting here, and my argument here, is not really an argument. What I'm presenting is trying to demonstrate, meaning the reason I even do what I do, Sinetta, is that I'm not interested in this continued my club, your club, my wiener is bigger than yours. I'm interested in remedy. I'm interested in our people being able to travel up and down the street.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you understand? Getting this European off them back. When you doing a business, you being a businessman with IRS or somebody coming at you trying to take your stuff. This is what I'm interested in. And I got evidence of remedy. I'm not interested in debating opinions, because most of what we debate when we debate are opinions and biases that we have both against ourselves and others, even though we don't like to admit that we got a bunch of biases. I'm interested in remedy. As an example like this, if I bring remedy. Like, our people always profiled, right? They have a bunch of people marching around or raising finance for, you know, get some European people claiming to be Jews or not Jews, the so-called represent us in court and stuff like this. So I'm interested in stuff like this that bring remedy. You understand? But I also know that in court, as you can see, the status, this is what happens in court. And this is not opinion. This is what happens in court. When you walk into a court under those brands, right, that our people don't know brands, automatically the Black Codes and the Negro Act are automatically come in. Because when you confess to that status, that's what the status covers. Do you understand? This is why you see the argument when they're saying anything that may be brought amenable, that may be brought to trial, that they be coming under the laws that any other citizen would be, which is constitutions and treaties. That's all over the world. Why our people keep wanting to be outside of that for some Negro stuff, they have a right to do that. But that is a status that makes them slaves. Because they keep agreeing to it. Do you understand? So as an example here, the right to travel, the right to mode of conveyance, the rights of locomotion are all absolute rights. And the police cannot make void the exercise of those rights. That's law. That's remedy. And so this is remedy. But I also know that you must be in propria persona, because even though they'll let you slide sometimes, they will challenge that because your status is everything. Even with your estate, even with inheritances. As an example, you see people always arguing about the birth certificate, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, they hypothecated the birth certificate under the Treaty of Verona. Then they should know that too, if they're going to talk about the birth certificate. And then they say that your mother sold you, blah, blah. You know it's BS because she was incompetent. Meaning that you can't take a person who's a minority, which in law is the same classification as a minor, which means they're incompetent, and sign a contract and be held to that, when it's a bottomry instrument. And not only that, nobody told them that that instrument was transferred to the popes of Rome under the IMF through the IRS and not the United States government, and that marriage certificates are delivered to the Department of Commerce under the Department of Orphans, which makes the issues from the wombs of women non-descendable, which means you can't get an inheritance.
What about through child support? How they
That's the same, because they're doing it.
Support?
They're doing it.
All set up.
They're doing it under the bottomry instruments of the birth certificate and the marriage certificate. The birth certificate is used by legal process. I didn't say lawful. Legal process and chicanery to claim the present bodies, the present physical bodies. The marriage certificate hypothecates the eggs in the womb. Do you understand? The marriage certificate is used to hypothecate the womb. It is mainly that instrument that they use to kick your door down 2 o'clock in the morning and take them babies that ain't yours, that you think is yours. And they're called what? Wards of the state, aren't they? Aren't they referred to wards of the state? True. So what is the state? It's a private foreign corporation that's occupying a land that's not theirs, distinguished from the land. That means the children that they're claiming are non-descendable. And so what do? They put a ransom on it, don't they? And that ransom is refuted by Part 1, Article 5 of international law, that they have no right to take the children from the home or claim, because essentially it's claiming jurisdiction, right, under any pretext, right? Now, Obama signed that, and that's what we taught. How come these black leaders don't never talk that? They want to talk about whether he can be president or not. Stupid stuff. Or whether he had a birth certificate or not, instead of talking remedy. And they'll start all kind of organizations and go around talking trash, and they ain't got to remedy the first about nothing. That's why we have little credibility even with the rest of the civilized world. Because we always looking to battle each other rather than bringing remedy. You know, and this is back to even principles. Our people go into ancient Kemet, break it all down, break down Ma'at, and then break down our constitution. Do you understand? Got no remedy, nothing to fix nothing, but to prove how different we are with each other. We're full of crap. And this is why the rest of the world don't respect us, even brothers from Africa. And you'll see them coming. They don't sit around talking about African. They'll deal with their nationality. All of them. And most times they know we sensitive. That's why they won't show us their papers. Because their papers will have on a white man. And then first thing we said, oh, you racist. You're trying to act like that white man. You're against your own brother. You don't want to live in your own black neighborhood. You know, and that's how we roll. Them want to fight and all that old stuff. That's why they don't talk to us. They'll set up shop and get a thick piece of plexiglass because they know we do the animal stuff. One minute we act like human beings, next minute we killing our own babies, killing each other, we're stepping on our shoes. But the European can come in our neighborhood, beat us all down, IRS come take your stuff, close your store up, steal your stuff, jump on you on the avenue, talking about where's your license and all stuff. And we get all humble and everything, come with a brother. We want to talk about history, commit and everything, don't know crap about crap, can't fix crap. I say this, Sonetta, if they can't bring remedy, I ain't got time for it.
I agree with you. However,
bring remedy.
I agree with you. However, I can't let you push those Africans off on us over here.
No, I'm not pushing.
No, wait, time out.
No.
Bring remedy.
Let me state what I'm stating.
I'm not trying to push them.
Let me state what I'm stating. I didn't interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Right? They act the way they act because they're savages, right? And there's no time for mincing terms, right? Some of us,
the Africans.
Some of us act the way we act because we're savages. And I don't mean that in a nice way. I mean that in an actual way. And what is a savage? Someone who will kill you and take what you got just because they want it. Don't care about you. Look just like you. Kill you and take what you got, your cell phone. I need one of those. I seen that on TV last night. And kill you for it. That's a savage. Okay? And this is a legacy that comes from the continent of Africa. This is the legacy of tribalism. This is just tribalism after it's been eradicated from your conscious mind. But it's still in the DNA. So when I see somebody that looks like me, where you from? What tribe you from? Instead of the tribe now, it's the city, it's the borough, it's the projects, it's the block. You're not from my block. That's tribalism. Okay, that's just in its last stages when it's not like conscious. But that's what it is. And this is something that was deliberately done to us. They broke it down for their purposes.
Yeah.
But
social engineering.
How it affects us to this day is on us. And it's a part of this American system, right? Because everything here is for sale. And everything you set up here can be a business. And the business model means you need customers. Or you need somebody to do business on. Not do business with, but do business on. I'm going to buy this cheap and sell it to you for a little more. And take what's left, my re-up. You understand? It's business. And everything here is like that. The social organizations, the political organizations, everything here is a business. The charitable organizations are businesses.
Yes.
Because the people who work there get paid from the donations. They don't make anything, so they don't produce anything. They don't produce anything, so all the money that they take in comes from donations. So how can they have salaries? Salaried employees.
Let me ask you, what is your nationality, Professor? What is your nationality?
You know, Brother Larry's a descendant of kidnapped victims, right? Right. And because I can't identify where my ancestors were kidnapped from, I don't claim nationality.
Now, in law, now this is what I want you to research, because since we're all dealing with knowledge, right?
Right.
That admission, he would be listed as a stateless person and would come under the Negro Acts.
Well,
listen, we're not talking. Let's not talking opinions.
That's not opinion.
That's not my. I'm not telling you that you're wrong.
No.
What I need you to understand, though, brother, is that you are telling me what someone else's opinion of me would be.
No. Yeah, well, true. But let's talk about. We're talking international law, and stop just putting it on the European. If you understand, this is anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. Without this is now. Let's talk some facts. Why did President Obama sign the rights of indigenous people when he came back from Hikupta, which is called Egypt? And why did Bush Sr. and Jr. would not sign it? Why did Clinton not sign it? Why did all the European presidents would not sign the rights of indigenous people, even though the United States Corporation is a party to the United Nations, and it has already been declared by the nations of the earth? It's documented. The Organization of American States, and we talk about Pennsylvania, New York, we talk about Organization Al Moroccan States. That's descendants of Moroccans in the Western Hemisphere, Americans. That includes Brazil, Argentina, all the way down to Chile, all of the islands, all of the people, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, different nations on that side of Africa signed it. And that is the right of these people here not to be interfered with or hindered from declaring their nationality, as it is a necessary component in world government, not just here, because it determines the legal status of the being in society. Are we clear? Now, one of the problems it's a monster problem that deals with our people is that without a nationality, we're considered what you call all over the world, not just what somebody European considers. This is anywhere. You can go in any African country, any Asian country, anywhere on the planet. Without a nationality, you're declared a stateless person. And a stateless person, only thing that's afforded to them in any society, not Europeans, in any society, are privileges and programs. Demonstrated even by the 14th Amendment for so-called Negroes that keep on buying and selling with European names. They can't even vote with their names unless the president backs up the Senate that signs every second administration or so for them to even vote with them names that are not theirs. Because they're listed as wards of the state, stateless persons, constitutional or psychopathic inferiority. Yeah. They are outside of the human family. Now, so programs only apply to such persons. What people think about us, yes, we can argue one way or another because we know they have different opinions. But what we're talking about, what we're claiming, and what we're demonstrating is not mere opinion. This is called legal status all around the world. And this is important to consider. This is important to consider, Sonetta. Mm-hmm. We can go deep into all these philosophies and then come back down to the basic aggregate that you just asked, what's your nationality? And we go, and you know what that's too, wait a minute, let me respectfully, it's not a criticism. Right. We got to be objective. Mm-hmm. To the world, we declared as incompetent. And we become automatically by our own position, wards of the state. I wouldn't care if you say, or I say, do you understand? Mm-hmm. That we're Asiatic or African. In law, in order to be protected by national and international law, you must declare a nationality. If you're Zimbabwean, then say it. Mm-hmm. If you say Kemetan, but you already know that's not the name of the nation, Egypt, you say it. Right. And your documents better back it up, because if it doesn't, you're declared a stateless person. That's not opinion. That's fact.
That is fact, brother.
This is also.
No, listen.
This is
fact.
This is also.
If you don't know who you are,
this is
your
also.
Nationality?
First of all, I know who I am. Right.
No, I'm talking about your nationality.
First of all, nationality means nation of origin. That's all it means, right? That's all it means, right?
No, it's not how it operates in society.
No, I'm not talking about how something operates. I'm talking about what something means. What it means is nation of origin, right? What it refers to is this navel, the nationality where you came from.
Yes.
I know where I came from. What I'm trying to say is this, though, right? When you talking law, you talking codified opinion. That's all the law is.
Yes, you talking
codified opinion.
Yes.
So whether the opinion
now, is that to dismiss it?
No, that's not to dismiss it. That's to clarify whether the opinion is the opinion of a legislative body, duly elected by members of a society, or whether the opinion is of an individual that doesn't recognize that duly elected body.
Yes.
Right? It's still an opinion, right? What we're dealing with is
Opinions.
Entities that people construct.
Opinions. And even the conversation is opinions.
Exactly. But they're entities that people construct. Once people construct entities and leave a record,
yes.
Now it comes away from opinion and becomes facts based on the record.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
A fact based on the record.
Which is most of what we've been talking about all night. When we talk about the history of Kemet,
I'm not disputing
Greece,
that. Well,
in other words, everything we're talking is opinion on the record. So the issue is before the issue, and this is what I'm presenting, because what happens is it gets into circular arguments that produce absolutely nothing, other than saying, well, let me dismiss this record and then use this other record to dismiss this record because it's really all opinion. And so my issue is, what opinions, since we don't want to recognize the record, what opinions do you have that you can present that bring some remedy to our people?
Actually, I'm a here and now person. Right?
Here and now.
I deal with it, and I can write law. Right? I've written law.
Good.
I've gone to court.
Yes.
To federal court and state court.
Yes.
Right? I write briefs.
Yes.
I know law. Yes. Right? I know legalese. I know how to talk like a
yes.
lawyer. Right? What I'm saying to you, brother, is that my issue is what's going on outside this window.
That's
right.
That's why
when you and I leave here, right?
Yeah.
If some little brothers from across the street
yeah.
decide that that's a nice hat
mm-hmm.
and want to take it from you,
mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the thought process that produces
yes.
that action.
The black codes mentality. I agree.
And that's where I'm coming from.
So I am too. So I'm saying this is what I'm looking at. You know, I'm not looking at just attacking the brother across the street. I'm not even looking at that way.
Attack,
but listen, because if they come at you, they're attacking you, and so you got to defend yourself. You're attacking them. What I'm saying is that mentality comes from the black codes being perpetrated on our people for generations. Comes from these European colonists who've been occupying our land. That's number one. Now, and so we got to teach them both philosophy, and for the most part, they think that way because they're disconnected. They're suffering psychologically, and I know that you agree with me because it's true. It's called, in social engineering, it's called disassociation. We know that that's what they're suffering from. Right? Now the deal of it is, you know and I know that we'll start talking racism not in general, you know what I mean, but not coming with cure. Most of the reason they're disassociated because they have no connection to anything. They don't own anything. They don't even own themselves. When you teach them nationality, it reconnects them to both land and natural person and makes clear the distinction between artificial entities created as constructs on paper and the natural person that has a birthright, which is the foundation of operative government, not just here, but around the world. And it's a missing component with them that keeps them outside of the social order, which is usually why they are socially disturbed and antisocial. Not only that, most of us, being their parents, going around building churches all the time and have no civic organizations to teach them fundamental civic operations. Therefore, they're usually what? Antisocial, because they're left out there to survive any kind of way they can. And then most of us only deal with belief systems. We won't deal with facts. So when the issues come at them, they don't even have a defense. And all we talk about is marching and praying instead of bringing remedy. And when it boils down to it, what is that all called universally? Birthright theft. And it's not even an argument that's presented in our venues. And then when we present the arguments, we're usually competing with each other rather than bringing remedies. And all I'm suggesting is that with all that we do, let's refine our arguments and bring remedy. And if we're not going to bring remedy, then all that other stuff, like the emotions, put them in your pocket, leave them in the trash can, leave them at the door. You know, like you go in the mystery schools or something, take your feet off at the door, take your shoes off at the door, wipe your feet, come humble, sit down, learn from the masters, and then let's share. And when the people come out, let them go out with substance that they can use, not something they can merely believe in.
Brother Taj, you go all over teaching, right?
Yes.
Let the people know how they can get in contact with you. You got emails, you got any...
No, this is what I do. Let me be honest with you. Let me be honest with you.
Where you teach at?
Well, the sister just opened up a Facebook for me, which I don't do. Mm-hmm. But it's a legitimate Facebook.
Right.
It's because I'm not plastic. You already know how I roll.
Right.
And because I try to deal with remedy, I know how emotional people are. And when I started doing email before with my brother and stuff like that, within 2 months I had over 28,000 from around the world not just North America. I can't even begin, so I don't even do it. Let's be real.
Right, I feel you.
You know what I mean? So we do rvbaypublications.com, Moorish News, another website, and Moorish Nation Public Records, where we publish our documents that we're dealing with nations around the world, or we're dealing with the president, or dealing with the entities here that's screwing our people, so that our people can examine it. Just like what I just read to you is on the websites.
Or you can come to you at the National Black Theater every Wednesday
And then
night.
we also have a section on there. We have the most often asked questions and answers from letters we've gotten over the years from people from the prisons, from people from, you know, different countries, from different officials, etc. You know, stuff that goes